Have you ever spent so much time avoiding a task that avoiding it became more exhausting than actually doing it? You check your email, reorganize the kitchen, watch one harmless video, which somehow becomes 11, and suddenly you decide you should research the best way to complete the task before you begin the task. Now you have 17 browser tabs open, three new organizational systems, and absolutely nothing completed. That is procrastination. But procrastination is not always a time management problem. Sometimes it's anxiety. Sometimes it's perfectionism. Sometimes it's overwhelm. And sometimes your brain simply cannot find enough stimulation to get the engine started. Today, we are not just talking about why you procrastinate. We are going to identify your procrastination pattern so you can use a strategy that actually matches it. Welcome to Anchored Thoughts, where we navigate life storms together, one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Toni, a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, coming to you live from my floating yacht aboard our yacht, traveling across America's Great Loop, where the Wi-Fi may be unstable, but the emotional insight remains strong. So unclench your jaw, drop your shoulders, and let's figure out why you keep putting things off. Procrastination is the unnecessary delay of something you intended to do, even though you recognize that the delay may create negative consequences. That is different from intentionally deciding to wait. Sometimes postponing a task is reasonable. You may need more information, more energy, additional resources, or a better opportunity. Strategic delay is a decision. Procrastination feels more like, I know I need to do this. I know avoiding it will make my life harder. And yet, here I am, cleaning the baseboards like a home inspection team is arriving tomorrow. Psychologically, procrastination often follows a predictable cycle. First, a task appears. Then, the task creates an uncomfortable feeling, perhaps anxiety, perhaps boredom, uncertainty, frustration, or fear of failure. You avoid the task, and that avoidance provides immediate relief. The relief rewards your brain for avoiding it. But the task does not disappear. Pressure builds, the deadline approaches, and shame enters the conversation. Now the task is connected not only to the original discomfort, but also to guilt about how long you've delayed it. Eventually, urgency becomes stronger than avoidance, and you complete it under pressure. Then you say, I work better at the last minute. But sometimes you do not work better at the last minute. The last minute is simply when the consequences become more uncomfortable than the task. Procrastination is not a mental health diagnosis on its own, and procrastinating does not automatically mean that you have a disorder. However, persistent procrastination can occur alongside several mental health conditions, such as ADHD, which means you have difficulties with executive functioning, which may affect task initiation, organization, time awareness, sustained attention, and the ability to resist something that offers a faster reward. It's also associated with anxiety. The procrastination may function as avoidance. You postpone a phone call, an appointment, a financial decision, or a difficult conversation because beginning it activates worry. In depression, you see reduced energy, impaired concentration, hopelessness. A decreased sense of reward can make ordinary responsibilities feel unusually difficult to initiate. Procrastination may appear during burnout, chronic stress, sleep deprivation, or periods of emotional overload. Also, with perfectionistic thinking can contribute as well. If your internal standard is that the outcome must be exceptional, starting becomes emotionally risky because beginning creates the possibility of falling short. The important question is not simply, why am I so unmotivated? A more useful question is, what is interfering with my ability to begin? There is no single type of procrastinator, and these patterns are not diagnoses. You may recognize yourself in more than one, but identifying your primary pattern can help you choose a more effective response. Pattern number 1 is the perfectionistic procrastinator. This may sound like, I need to know exactly what I am doing before I begin. I want to wait until I can give it my full attention. Or, if I cannot do it well, I would rather not do it yet. Perfectionistic procrastination can disguise itself as preparation. You keep researching, planning, outlining, or buying supplies because preparation feels better than producing something that can be evaluated. Pattern number 2 is the anxious procrastinator. This person is not necessarily avoiding the work. They may be avoiding what the work represents. A medical appointment might represent the possibility of bad news. An email might represent rejection. A financial statement might represent a reality they do not feel prepared to face. Avoidance lowers the anxiety temporarily, but it usually allows uncertainty to grow. Pattern number 3 is the overwhelmed procrastinator. This happens when the brain sees the entire project at once, but cannot identify an entry point, such as clean the house, start the business, plan the trip, fix my finances. These are not individual actions. They are categories containing dozens of decisions. It is like telling someone aboard a yacht, navigate to Chicago. That is a destination, not a usable instruction. We still need the route, weather, fuel, locks, stopping point, and the next heading. Pattern number 4 is the understimulated procrastinator. Some tasks are repetitive, boring, or connected to rewards that feel too far away. Your brain understands that completing the paperwork will benefit you next month, but right now, your phone is offering novelty, entertainment, and immediate feedback. This pattern can be particularly noticeable in people with ADHD, although anyone can experience it. Here's pattern number 5, the depleted procrastinator. That's when you keep calling yourself unmotivated. But the real issue is that your cognitive and emotional resources are too low. You might be sleeping poorly, carrying too many responsibilities, recovering from chronic stress, or trying to work without adequate rest. This overlaps with burnout. But the important distinction is that the solution may not be another productivity strategy. It may be recovery, reduced demands, additional support, or treatment for an underlying condition. So here's this week. Try this exercise. I call it the Procrastination Decoder, adopted by Dr. David Maloney. Choose one specific task you have been avoiding. Not your entire life, not everything currently sitting on your to-do list. Choose one task. Now, complete this sentence. If I begin this task, I might feel. Do not write what you think you should feel. Identify what actually appears. Is it anxiety, confusion, boredom, inadequacy, resentment, exhaustion? Once you identify the feeling or barrier, match your strategy to it. If the barrier is fear or anxiety, practice brief exposure. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Allow the anxiety to be present while you engage with the task. The goal is not to eliminate the feeling before beginning. The goal is to teach your brain that you can begin while the feeling is there. You might say, I am willing to feel uncertain for 10 minutes while I open this statement. If the barrier is confusion or overwhelm, identify the next physical action. Work on my presentation is too vague. Open the presentation and write the title slide is an observable action. If the barrier is boredom or low stimulation, add immediate structure or a reward. Use a visible timer. Work alongside someone through body doubling. Add music if the task permits it. Alternate a short period of work with a planned break. Don't wait for a distant reward to motivate a brain that needs something more immediate. If the barrier is perfectionism, then create an intentionally imperfect first version. Call it the rough draft, the practice attempt, or the version 0. Your assignment is not to make it impressive. Your assignment is to make it exist. If the barrier is low energy, ask whether the task needs to be reduced, or rescheduled, delegated, or supported. There's a difference between avoiding reasonable discomfort and repeatedly demanding performance from a depleted system. The decoder is symptom. Name the task. Name the feeling, then identify the pattern, match the intervention. Instead of using one productivity trick for every form of procrastination, respond to the actual reason you are stuck, but also know when to consider professional support. Occasional procrastination is part of being human, but consider speaking with a qualified mental health professional if procrastination repeatedly disrupts your work, your education, your finances, your health, your relationship, or daily responsibilities. It may be especially helpful to seek an evaluation if you also experience persistent anxiety, low mood, loss of interest, sleep disturbances, severe concentration problems, impulsivity, chronic disorganization, or a long-standing inability to begin and complete necessary tasks. You do not need to diagnose yourself from a 30-second video, but you also do not have to assume that every difficulty is a character flaw. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is investigate what's making productivity so difficult. So this week, pay attention to the moment before you procrastinate. What task appeared? What feeling followed? What did avoidance allow you to escape temporarily? That moment contains useful information. Out here on the water, if the boat repeatedly pulls off course, we don't insult the boat and call it lazy. We check the current, check the wind, the instruments, and the route. Your procrastination deserves the same curiosity. Do not ask only, how can I force myself to work? Ask, what is pulling me off course? And what adjustment does the situation require? You may not need more pressure. You may need a clearer heading. This has been Anchor Thoughts with Dr. Toni, where we navigate life storms together, one conversation at a time. If this episode helped you recognize your procrastination pattern, share it with someone who has been preparing to start preparing. Then try the Procrastination Decoder and tell me which pattern you recognize: perfectionistic, anxious, overwhelmed, understimulated, or depleted. And remember, you don't have to control every wave to remain anchored. So until next time, take care of your mind and keep moving toward what matters.